time to let God have a piece of your Sunday. So we took an intermission for Easter. We had Palm Sunday message, Easter Sunday message, and now we're back on track of the 10 keys to blessedness, or the 10 keys to a blessed life. The first 4, we're on number 5 today, which is treasure in heaven. And really it's a parable about priorities. But the first one was forgiveness. The second one was mercy. The first one was the unforgiving servant. The second one was the Good Samaritan. It was mercy. The third one was grace, and the parable of the wineskin, old and new wineskins, and the old and new cloth. The fourth one was the importune prayer, and it was the parable of the friend who went and prayed to his friend for his friend that had visited. And now the fifth one is treasure in heaven, and I think it's very important, especially in these days, and you'll see why as we move forward. If you have a Bible, go to Luke chapter 12. This is a bit of a famous parable, and a very important one. You perhaps have heard it before. Hopefully this morning it will be a little bit different context and perhaps some fresh information. So let's just begin reading. We'll read the first few verses, starting in verse 13. Let me see, Luke 12, verse 13. And I'm reading out of the King James. Whatever version you have, it should be basically the same. Okay, 12:13. And one of the company said to him, Master, speak to my brother, that he divide the inheritance with me. And he said unto him, Man, who made me a judge or a divider over you? And he said to them, Take heed, beware of covetousness, for a man's life consists not in the abundance of the things that he possesses. And then he spoke a parable unto them, saying, The ground of a certain rich man brought forth very plentifully. And he thought within himself, saying, What should I do, because I have no room where to bestow my fruits? And he said, This will I do. I'll pull down my barns, and I will build bigger ones. And there I will bestow all of my fruits and my goods. And I will say to my soul, Soul, you have much goods laid up for many years. Take your ease, eat, drink, and be merry. But God said unto him, Thou fool, this night your soul shall be required of thee. Then whose shall all these be which you have provided? So is he that lays up treasure for himself, and is not rich towards God. Okay. Parable about something that's very close to us, actually, because we are all growing up in the United States. And actually, I have been to Seoul, to Korea, and actually, I think Korea is also in the same kind of rat race that we find ourselves in the United States. And we have underlying this current in our society that is telling us that life consists of what you possess. Right? If you have possessions, life is better than if you don't. And that's the undercurrent that's in our society. And Jesus is hitting those ideas head on. Right? He's taking them on head to head and going absolutely against it and saying exactly the opposite. Life does not consist of what a man possesses. And then he tells this parable, this guy, completely successful, and none of us are farmers here, because this was an agrarian society, but back then, everyone knows to have a crop, and to have a bumper crop where the corn is growing higher than it ever did, and the rain was perfect, and the dry season was perfect, and everything was perfect, so that, look, I cannot believe it, I am rich. I have got more corn, I have got more grain than I can contain in my little barns. I am so rich. And I like, look what it says concerning that. In verse 17, he thought within himself, saying, what shall I do? And you know what? Riches has a way of doing that to you. Today, in this society that we live in, our dollar, your dollar, our dollar in the United States, lost 25% of its value this year. My dollar is worth 25% less. If I was a rich man, I'd really be panicking. Because if I had $1 million this year, I lost 250,000 of those dollars. And you know what happened with real estate? If you drive down the street, you see for sale signs. Like every 8th house, there's a for sale sign. And we know it's because of the credit system and this combination between big business and Washington. And they got together and messed us up. Not only messed us up, but messed the whole world up, because the whole world is based on dollars. Anyway, that's another topic. But a man who had $1 million home, his home perhaps today is worth only $700,000 or $600,000. Now, if I had taken out a 30-year loan, which is what most people do when they mortgage their house, they go down to the bank, could I buy this house? Yes. How much does it cost? It costs $200,000. You can afford that. I'll give you $200,000 and you can pay it back over 30 years. I said, wow, that's amazing. I'm a homeowner. My house is worth $200,000, or maybe my house is worth $220,000 and I borrowed $200,000. Today, my house is worth $180,000. It's worth less than I paid for it. I owe the bank more than I could sell my house for. What's the problem with all of that? If we have money, it causes us to think a lot. What am I going to do with my money? And if you were to ever have a bumper crop where you had a lot of it, immediately it causes you to think and think and think, how am I going to protect it? Gold, silver, farmland, trust funds, and mutual funds, etc., etc. This man built bigger barns. And after he was done building his barns, this was his advice. He's going to talk to his own soul. And you know that we talk to our own souls more than we talk to anyone. We are the person we speak to the most. You and I speak 95 words to ourselves to 5 words that we speak to somebody else. We're constantly talking to us. This man was talking to himself, and he said, soul, sit down. I want to talk to you for a minute, soul. Verse 19, I will say to my soul, soul, you have much goods laid up for many years. You had it made. You got it made. You have arrived. You can now do nothing but just eat, drink, and be merry. Gosh, doesn't that sound familiar? Eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. That was actually the cry of the Epicureans who lived a heathenistic life, who their entire life was pleasure and the pursuit of pleasure. This was their goal. And Jesus is telling us something about life. He's saying, what is your goal in life? Like, what is the purpose? What is at the center? Where's your treasure? What's the most important thing? Because if you get it wrong, one day you will wake up and maybe you will have cancer. I'm praying for this man. His wife last year got breast cancer. She went through the operation, chemotherapy, radiation. She was cleared of breast cancer, clean, you know. And 1 month later, her husband was diagnosed with prostate cancer. Wednesday, he goes under the knife, and he will go through the same process she did. One day, while you're concentrating on possessions, you could wake up, and all of a sudden, your life is required of you. This is what's happened here. But God said to him, you fool, this night your soul shall be required of you. Then, who's for all of these? Who owns all the grain then? Who owns all the barns then? You're going to give it away. Your children are going to fight over it, which is what it all started with, right? A man can, hey, tell my brother to share his inheritance with me. And Jesus arrives at the place where a man's going to die and he's going to give it to his children. You know what they're going to do with it? They will fight over it. And Jesus said, beware of covetousness, because life does not consist of what a man possesses. And I know with the going to university, the studying, and what we think about in America, is we are like driven to believe that the purpose of life is to possess something, or that I am really secure if I have a lot, and I'm not secure if I have nothing. And I'm here today in the Lord's stead to say, there is no security. Life is uncertain. I want to look at 2 Bible verses with you. You can hold your finger there, but go to 1 Corinthians 7. There's two little principles I want all of us to leave here with. Very, very simple. You know, no one could have ever imagined, they never could have imagined 20 years ago that the book of Revelation could be true, that actually, if there was not a mark on my hand or a mark on my forehead, that I could not buy or sell. No one could have imagined it, because there was no system on our planet that was so connected that if I didn't have something, a little card or a little chip, that I wouldn't be able to bank. But we can see it now, can't we? It'd be so easy to put a little microchip underneath my skin. They do it with dogs and animals. They just put it's about the size of a grain of rice, put it under your skin, and the dog can be found. We know, I know that my iPhone is traced everywhere I go because of Google Earth and because of all that is going on. The world is becoming smaller and smaller. People know where I am because of technology. Unthinkable. It was like Star Trek years ago. Do you remember? You don't remember Star Trek, but I remember Star Trek. Because when I went to Clarkson College of Technology as a civil engineer, I remember the little flip communicators. Kirk Enterprise. And it was a little flip thing, you know, they were actually seeing each other on the screen. We were like, my gosh, it is amazing. It's like sci-fi. No, it's not. It's reality. We do it. We just turn on our new iPhone 4Gs and talk to a person live stream video. Unthinkable 20 years ago. The Lord is communicating with us. The earth, you know, the Bible says that the earth groans waiting for the return of Christ. Like the earth we're living on groans because it has a time frame. And the groaning is, it's waiting for the Scripture to be true. Never before have we seen what we see in the world. Never before have the United States dollar, which has been the currency that makes everything happen on the planet, is losing its value every single day. We don't know what's going on. Our government is printing money like crazy. $1 trillion or $3 trillion actually printed. It can't go on much longer. Never have we had so many tornadoes. 171 tornadoes were counted in the one storm, like one sweep across the United States. 171 tornadoes. Can you be sitting in your house? Can you tell me that tomorrow is sure? Can you tell me that your future is certain? I'm telling you it's not. And Jesus would say, any man who would believe that his life is okay because of the food in his barns is a fool. That's not what makes life okay. But what is it really that makes life okay? And that's what will bring the blessedness to our lives. 1 Corinthians chapter 7. This whole chapter is about being married and being single. You could read it, especially you who are single. But,